Alrighty then, we're going to get straight into this. My name is Daniel. I'm a triathlete at a road bike race. We're just about to start. This is the Owen Blower 3rd and 4th Cat road race organised by Leicester Road Club. Thank you very much to everybody involved in making these events happen. The commissaires, the marshals, the accredited marshals, the escort guard moto riders. So many people come together to make those things happen, so thank you very much. The flag has just dropped and we are underway. Now I'm right at the front, other than John O'Hornblow, who runs Derby CC. He's just up ahead. He said to me before we started, we're the number 1 ranked team in East Midlands, watch this, and then drop the hammer. So there you go. Of course it all came back together. I wasn't chasing that fruitlessly this early on in the race. So this race is 1 hour and 40 minutes long, or it ended up being that long. It's 5 laps of a rolling and twisty circuit. Some really nice roads, to be honest. The surface was very good. Sure, there's a few corners and things, but that makes it more of a technical race and makes it more interesting. So I don't have any teammates in this race. I have raced the day before as well, so to be honest, I'm not feeling very good at this point, but my legs do come good later on. Keep an eye on the stats at the bottom of the screen. I do flick through this race at various points, so on the bottom left is the timer. I'm right near the front. This is still lap 1. Being at the front is a big advantage. I have a few big triathlons coming up in the next few weeks, so I'm trying to stay safe, and it's probably one of the safest parts on the in the group, as well as it's actually easier very often. If you're on the back, getting slingshotted off the back, then it is quite difficult. However, people do this sort of thing. People attack, and you have to decide whether you're going to go with it or not, and I decided not to. Too big of a gap, I don't want to waste my energy. However, the next person comes past, I think, right, if I put a dig in, I can get on his wheel and take a free ride across to the front. There is one pretty decent climb on each lap. I think it's about a minute or a minute and a half in total, and then it flattens off and it goes up again a little bit to the finish line. So I have in my mind, I'm not the best climber, so I need to stay at the front on the first lap, especially when people have fresh legs. And we're just coming up to the climb now, so I'm already doing 460 watts. I don't want to lose all these places. We have 60 riders in the bunch. I'd quite like to not be 60th going into the climb. I like having what's called sliding space, so as you can see now, I'm slipping back through the group, but providing I don't go out the back, I'm still going to be in that group when we go over the top. Now, I'd love to say this is strategic, but I am full gas here. This is as fast as I can climb. I'm 89 kilos, and I don't think that's particularly heavy for a cyclist, but when you are on a pure, 8-9% power to weight climb, and you're racing against guys who are 10, 20, 30 kilos lighter, it does make a big difference. But I don't think in this sort of race it's the be all and end all. I think that on that one specific part of the course it is, but on the rest of the course it doesn't really make too much difference. I'm 6'2", so I'm never going to be 50 kilos, but you'll see here I give it everything there and I'm absolutely gasping. I'm pretty much on my max heart rate and I'm right at the back of the group. There are not many riders behind me. That was concerning. If I had been at the back, there we go, some horses. We're on open roads, by the way, so although we have like a rolling roadblock, of course you have to ride sensibly with those people around you, so you'll come across things like that, tractors, cars, pedestrians, all those sorts of things. You have to be courteous. So yeah, I was thinking, if I come to that climb again and I'm at the back, I could be in a little bit of difficulty, because if I'm at the back, there's no sliding space. Now, my ambitions for this race, I don't have any teammates in it. However, I don't think that's a massive problem in this sort of thing. I think results are your own design. Like if you put the work in, if you get in the right move, or if you're positioned well at the finish, then you'll get a result regardless of whether you've got teammates in the race or not. And I think actually sometimes it's an advantage. I'm not having to do anything for anybody. If there's a breakaway and I want to go try and get across to it, I don't need to not go if my teammate's in there or something. So there's a bit of a double-edged sword there. I do like racing with teammates, but sometimes it is nice just to have absolutely no pressure. So we're now 35 minutes in, we're on to the second lap, and I'm right at the back. I said earlier, I'm not feeling good, and that theme is continuing. I can just tell I don't have that kick. We're coming up the hill again, and I'm thinking, right, I don't need to get dropped here. And you can see here's a fairly decent sized gap opening up. There's a guy just coming around me to the right, so I'm going to try and squeeze on. I'm already doing 560 watts and just keep in touch. And again, somebody behind me coming past me. So as long as I'm connected to that group ahead, then I'm happy. This is the closest I come to being dropped, though. Here, that gap is opening. I am not closing that gap. This 10-11% gradient, drafting is not much benefit, but when we go over the top of here, I feel like it's like a Zwift race. If I'm not on the back of this bunch, I could very quickly be out the back, and there were a couple of riders, as we saw then, go through the group and go out the back, and if you get caught behind one of those, then you're also dropped. So I'm feeling okay here. I've had to go pretty hard up there, but I knew that if I saved a bit of gas for the top, I could do exactly this. I could press on and close the gap to the bunch, providing that they weren't all attacking. And you can see there, they've sat up. That moto rider came past me. I thought, oh, this is the end, but also then dropped back behind me. I'm back on the group, but that was a big effort. Fast forward another few miles, that is a little technical section there. We come down a little descent and then go across a mini roundabout, and it gets quite tight, and you swing up to the left and there's a little rise here. This climb on its own is not enough to break up the group really, but if you come in there at pace and if the group is strung out and if you really hit it hard on the way out, I think there could be some breaks forming, but we'll see how this plays out later on in the race. When I'm doing 30 miles an hour, the drafting effect is pretty big, so providing I'm on somebody's wheel, then it is okay. We're coming up to the third time up the hill now, and what I was finding was, even though I wasn't feeling great in terms of freshness, I had raced a couple of times the day before, 2 crits, people around me were fading and I wasn't fading as much, so I was finding that it wasn't as difficult to get up the climb on the 3rd lap and then on the 4th lap and the 5th lap. So if you're looking to do a race and maybe you get dropped on the first lap, or maybe you dropped on the first climb, please do keep giving it a go, because you will find that later on in the race it does settle down in terms of effort. And I'm still doing a whole ton of power here to try and keep up, but I'm not actually going flat out. I know that the group ahead is fairly bunched up, it's not looking like there's loads of gaps opening up, so I'm happy here just to stay at the back, just remain in contact, and if anything, try and save something for over the top. I'd seen the break went on the 1st or 2nd lap over the top of this climb, because those who are at the front have positioned well, maybe they're feeling good, so I think, right, I'm going to do exactly that. So I've gone over the top of the climb, over the start finish line. I'm thinking, right, I need to give this a crack now, because I'm losing time on that climb, but no more than a handful of maybe 10 seconds or so. So if I'm in a breakaway that's 30 seconds or a minute up the road, well, I'm still going to stay ahead of the bunch on that climb, is my theory. So I've attacked there and I've got a gap, but I'm not committing to a massive solo attempt, because I'm not going to stay away for the next 40 minutes on my own. I need a few riders with me, so I've settled down to around sweet spot, hoping that somebody or some people will jump across this gap and then we could form a breakaway. Sometimes, as is often the case, you just get brought back by the bunch and it's all back together. But if that happens, which it is doing now, that's fine, because I haven't committed all of my pennies to this pot. I've still, I'm able to recover, and if somebody else attacks now, I should be able to go with them. We can see there's somebody just at the road there, and then somebody else attacks, and I think, right, I'm going to follow this. So I squeeze on, kick on, and try and follow this person through, and then somebody jumps on my wheel. It's easy when you look back at the camera now and you think, oh, should I have gone, shouldn't I have gone, oh, that person's on my wheel, or I'm behind them. In the heat of the moment, you can't tell who's behind you. I flick this person through my elbow here, and he comes past me. I have a quick look around me. I know the bunch are chasing. I can see there's not a big group ahead, so I'm happy here that I'm going to sit on this guy. If he sits up, I'm not going to pull through. I'm going to drop out to the bunch. I don't think this is the move, and if it happens, then it happens, but if it doesn't, then I'm happy with my decision. And as it happens, the bunch brings us back, but I'm happy there, because although I put one little dig in, I haven't committed loads of energy. Back at the front now, and this corner is a lot different than it was at the back, so kicking on out this corner, it's really going to start stretching it out behind, and although we're pushing on hard, it's not as hard as those further back in the bunch. So half of this is to stay with the group at the front, but half of it is just to soften the legs of the people behind you, so that maybe when you come to the climb the next time, they're not as fresh. But it's not always as simple as that. You often see, like, times like here, it'll be that's Paul from WCC on the right, people attack or kick on, and sometimes you'll get a gap. So here I'm pulling through as if we're in a little chain gang, thinking, well, I don't know if we've got a gap or not. I'm doing 31 miles an hour. I'm not looking behind me. So I'm going to pull through just to keep the momentum going, see if anybody else pulls through, which there are 2 more riders coming through. And then as we see after this sprint team member, nobody else pulls through, and that indicates to me that we are all together as a bunch. If we were a small breakaway, I'd have hoped that the other riders would have pulled through. So I just maintain my position and sit on that wheel. Another couple of attacks here, and I'm thinking, right, do I go this, do I not? And I think that sprint rider is kicking on, so I'm surging up my power because I can see lots of riders coming past me, and I just want to slot in there somewhere. I don't particularly want to be the person chasing or closing the gap. I just want to be in that group. Again, you can see here Jono from Derby CC is behind me, so his teammate Paul is in that little, I don't know if you want to call it a breakaway, they've got a little tiny gap, so he's not going to come around me, so I want to go with that break if it goes. So he's just sat on me absolutely fine. Yep, cheers, nice one, Jono. And the whole bunch is on him. 36 miles an hour, 3% downhill. This is the 4th lap. There's not a great deal of point of attacking here, but there's many reasons why I do races. One of them is training. So I don't want to sit in for the last 2 laps and just not get a workout in. So here I'm having a bit of fun really. I'm doing 41 miles an hour, 110 RPM, doing 500 watts down a 3% hill. Like, it makes no sense to attack here, but I want to keep the pace up in the bunch. I want to keep us moving fast, and I want a good workout, and you never know, a break might happen. And all I did there was one little dig, and then another couple of riders come around me, and then I drop in the draft of them. And we had a tailwind down here, so the draft wasn't massive, but it's not a 37 mile an hour tailwind, so there is still some benefit. He sits up, and that rider just slips off the front, and I come through it. you see so many times riders just slip off the front, and I think, oh, why can't that be me? So you've got to put yourself in these situations, because sometimes you will just slip off the front. We're just coming down here to that little technical section with the mini roundabout, so I fast forward a little bit, but I'm right near the front here, we're carrying a lot of speed, so I know that I'm going to kick on out of here, and those further back, look how strong out it is behind, those further back are potentially going to struggle kicking on out of there, so it is beneficial. That rider behind me, riding for the Ribble Recharge race team, we're going to see some class riding from him very shortly. That's like a development team, so they're a lot younger lads than I am, and hopefully go into bigger places. So here, let's just watch this. Now, I'm a triathlete, right? So yeah, a bit of a masterclass in cornering. Look at the gap he's pulling on me, but he's not even pedaling. That's absolutely free. I'm then kicking out of the corner, 700 watts, nearly 800 watts, just to try and close the gap to him, and he is just probably not even put that in that big of an effort. He might have done afterwards, but the gap and momentum he pulled through that corner is brilliant. Awesome work, well done, good to see. And I hope to learn stuff like that in the future. Another little squeeze on from me here. I'm thinking now this is the last lap, so if I want to try and have any sort of result, then I need to be off of the front, really. So I'm just trying to go with every little move, or trying to attack when it feels like it's the right sort of time, just to see if I can. Sorry, that's not the last lap. We're just coming on to the last lap now. We're just going over the start finish, and then we turn left. So coming on to the last lap, I'm well positioned. There's no breakaway anymore. They've all been brought back, and I'm in the mix. So it's everybody's to play for. We've got 15 minutes after the race. There's one person attacking just there. I think he does stay out there for quite a while, but I've hesitated. So if I attack now, I'm just going to take loads of people with me. This guy again coming past me on the right, I can feel him come in, so I surge on when he comes past me, and I try and go with him. So I've not quite got the snap that I hope I'd have, because really I need to be on his wheel now. So I'm benefiting from the draft 100%. I'm on his wheel, but I'm not quite there. I do get there, but I think me just having a bit more of a kick will help me in the future. That's something to work on. If you're looking behind me, you can see that the bunch is working, and they are going to bring us back, but that's okay. This sort of thing, everybody wants to win this race. They're not going to just let people ride off into the distance, but you do genuinely never know. Another left turn here. See another cornering masterclass, not from myself. It's just carrying 1, 2, 3 miles an hour more than me, and it just means it puts you in a better position for the exit of the corner. But you can only do these. I've never raced this course before, so I'm sure I'll be faster on the corners next time. That was the gentleman who went on that attack, and you can see that he's committed a lot to that. So when we're catching him at 27 miles an hour, he's perhaps not got the legs to go with us. Time's ticking on here. I know that it's not very far to the climb, and I know that I'm probably not going to feature in the results of this race, given that I have committed so much this last couple of laps, especially here. I'm having another couple of attempts to try and get away. I don't need a massive gap by that climb. I reckon if I had 20 seconds, maybe that'd be enough for me to stay away, but I don't really know how fast the leaders are going to climb that final climb, but there's one way to find out, isn't there? So again here, some people are bubbling through, so although I've put an effort in, like now I'm not, I don't know if I'm what still, but it's not as hard as those people on the front, and sometimes this sort of thing would stick and sometimes it wouldn't, and just so happens on this case it wouldn't, but it's damn good fun. We're doing 32 miles an hour, we're all sort of sliding through and pulling turns and people trying to get away and stuff. I've really eased off here because they've opened a gap. I don't want to close that myself. I'm happy to let them go. I'm sure somebody else will panic and go and get it, and there we go. Somebody else sees that gap open up and comes around. I then surge on, and similar to earlier, I'm just slotting in somewhere in those wheels just so that I'm in the mix still, but that I haven't expended all that energy to try and close that gap. You've just got to be careful there that you don't slide all the way back through the group. I think this is one last ditch attempt to try and get away. So we're only about 7 minutes away from the finish of the race. But again, as I say, I wanted a good workout. I wanted to have fun. 41 miles an hour. I'm never going to get a gap. I'm doing, 400 watts. Those behind me are freewheeling, as you can see. So I'm never going to pull away from a group there. But that person there was up the road. So we've got him back. This is now the front of the race. And I'm at the front. I'm not at the front of the finish, but you've got to be at the front if you want to win it, haven't you? So, again, there, once we're all back together, I'm not pulling loads of power, I'm then just easing off and letting another rider come past me. This is coming up to the final climb. I was positioned okay, but I've committed so much energy in those last couple of laps that I haven't got the kick there to now fight for position. This is now probably a kilometre away from the base of the climb, so everybody's starting to squeeze on, everybody's starting to press on and really want to get in that good position to get up that climb, and I'm just not in the mix. And I know that I'm not going to be competitive, so I don't want to put myself in the group and get in people's way, and that is essentially the end of my race. So well done to the rider from PB Performance who won and everybody else who took part. Certainly look forward to doing more road racing in the future. See you later.